So all right, so we'll do a quick React app. And as always, like if you know, I'll ask a few questions, or if you want to like, if you have any suggestions, just like throw it out there. Yeah, and I'm doing this from scratch. I literally just thought about this idea probably like probably like 15, 20 minutes ago. And I'm like, okay, we'll just do that today. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm gonna open up the terminal because I'm just gonna do everything from the terminal. And speaking of the terminal, when we were doing the Git stuff, I still didn't get a chance to figure out like what I was doing wrong that one time. So we're gonna come back to that later on. But today we're gonna do React. And let me go to the website. React. So I asked a few people to go through the tutorial. In this tutorial, it does do like a really good job. I kind of like skimmed through it and just saw what they were creating. They created that tic-tac-toe game here. And the tic-tac-toe game did a lot of stuff. So what we're gonna do is not the tic-tac-toe game, but we're gonna build our own little app, and we'll make it do a few things. And then I'm gonna scan through this page to make sure we get all of the concepts, the basic concepts. I'm gonna do a quick like draw up of a quick like, so I'm gonna give you a picture of what we're gonna build. I'm just gonna click this, and I'll do a quick little mock-up, and then after I do the mock-up, we'll start building it on in React. So we'll do something very simple where we'll have a square. Obviously, the square is going to be white. It's going to start off white, and that square is going to have squares inside of it. So we'll have, let's say, 4 different squares. Let me resize this. And 4 squares here. So we'll have, let's see, there. And each one of these small squares is going to have a different color inside of it. Some of you probably know where I'm going with this. Like this would be, let's say, blue. This would be, let's say, red, orange, and say green. So the parent is going to be we'll have an outer square, and then we'll have these inner squares here. And if we click on one of these squares, it's going to change the color of the outside square. So if I click blue, it's going to change to blue. If I click yellow, it's going to change to yellow, green, red. What this is going to do for us is help us understand how React apps are structured. Like if you like sort of like think about it, like remember how when we went through HTML and CSS, we were saying everything in the website is like a section, or like, you know, boxed off sections. Even if we look at like the current website that we're currently in, like we have a box here, like, you know, this big gray box, and we got a box here on the side, this navigation here. You can sort of relate these boxes to the ones that's inside of the mockup that we're going to build. And maybe we'll even put like some information inside of here. I'll put like some text. I'll put, yeah, this will do. I'll give each box a name. Actually, I'll just say the name of this box is John. This one is going to be, trying to pick like Dave. Trying to pick simple, like four letter word, 4-letter names. So John, Dave, say Sam, and we'll do, I don't even know. We'll do John, Dave, Sam, Mike. That's a good one. All right. And we'll even have some text up here. And whenever we click one of these boxes, we'll say, hi, and then like the name. I'm putting name in in like these brackets to represent like a variable or something like that. So if I click this, the background of this white is going to be white, and it's going to say hi John. If I click Dave, it's going to turn red. It's going to say hi Dave, so on and so forth. I think we should be able to get through this, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Any questions on what we're trying to do while I download this? Download PNG. That's cool. Okay. We'll learn a lot of React concepts by doing this. Okay. All right. So I got my terminal open. I'm just gonna create a React app. First, obviously, I'm gonna go to my desktop, and I'm also gonna make a directory, mkdir. I'm just gonna say color project, cd into color project, and then I'm gonna create the React app. Remember last time we did npx create dash react dash app, and then we gave it a name, and I'm just gonna give it color. I'm just gonna name it colors. color project, and I'm doing this with these hyphens. I believe this is how we had to do it last time, if I remember correctly. So I'm gonna press enter, and no, I'm inside of the I'm inside of this folder right here. So I'm gonna press enter here. Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even have to create this folder because it's going to create a folder for me, as we can see. I could just cd to the desktop and just created it there. But yeah, either way, it created this folder, and it's still just downloading everything that we need for React.
So that you did before, it was just showing us how you wanted to look?
Yes.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, this is how the app is going to look. It's going to be a box, but you know, I'm honestly, I'm probably just going to put 4 boxes on the screen and just like change the whole background color of the whole page, you know, every time. We'll see. That is still downloading. And like this is an example. Like when I give this template, like this is an example of how we see it. Like whenever we work on a job, they give us a template. Like we're not the designers. The designers are part of something called the UX team, like UI UX, user interface, user experience, and they're the ones that basically give us all of like the wording. They're good with knowing like what people are looking for on like a page, for example, like to make the user experience better. An example of that would be where to place buttons, where to place text, where to place your help text. Just
and that's a different
yeah,
than what you do now.
yeah, it's a whole different discipline. There's a psychology behind it actually, like just knowing what the average person would expect to see. Like that's a whole nother word of its own. And funny story about that is that like I thought that I could potentially do their job for them, but I really can't. Like the stuff they think about, and because they live in it, the stuff they think about is just so different. It's like it really is an art to making your website or your app user friendly. So, but yeah, this is created now, and like I said, I should have just put this on my desktop straight, but it's fine. I'm just gonna drag this into VS Code. So we open that up. And I'm gonna quickly go over some of the files and stuff that's inside of the React app. I know I went over it before, but I'm just going to quickly go over it again just so that we get quickly familiar with it. And it'll just be a quick recap. So what React app, basically what this create React app command, it basically puts together a React app for us automatically. And let me put this. And because it put together a React app for us, it downloaded a whole bunch of code. All of the code that it downloaded is inside of this node modules folder. Anytime you see a node modules folder, this has code, a bunch of code in there. Like there's literally there's a lot of code. And if ever we want to use some other person's code, we can add that to our project, and that code will go inside of the node modules folder. Now, today we're not going to do that, but like maybe like the next time I'll show y'all how to add like outside code, like code that other people already wrote for you. This Readme file, I'm not sure if I think I should have glazed over it. This Readme file is really, it's not really required, but it's a nice file to have because it basically gives you directions on how to start the app. Like if you give this app to somebody else, to a different developer, sometimes like they don't really know how to start the app, and there may be like additional steps to start the app on your computer. So that's where all of that information will go inside of the README. The package JSON has the names of all of the different like outside code that you're using in the React app. Now React app automatically comes with a bunch of different like code that other people wrote, and these are the names of those like code packages. And these code packages within themselves have a dependency, or they depend on other packages. So if you open up this folder, you're going to see all of these things inside of this node modules folder, and everything that these packages need is going to also be inside of the node modules folder. So it's just literally just a combination of a whole bunch of code just put together. Now this and this is not so important. This just represents the name of your app. We named it color dash project when we first started. It's not really too significant.
Could you change the name of the project from there?
Yeah, you can change it.
Mess something up?
That's what I'm about to check actually. So what I did was I did like a global search of color project, and I can see that the only place it exists is the package lock.json and the package JSON. So I can edit this. Like nothing, since nothing is going to reference it, I can change it. But I would just leave it the same, just in case there's something that I just don't see, something in the background that's going to reference it. But to my knowledge, I think you can just change it. So, and while I'm gonna get to the package lock JSON, what that is in a minute also. So what this section does, this section is all of our scripts. Like if we was to start this app, the way we start it is by running npm start. Anytime you run npm stands for node package manager, and you're running start. So what that's going to do is node is going to come in here and look for the thing that's named start, and it's going to run that. So it's going to run this here. So me typing npm start is literally the exact same thing as me copying and pasting this React script start. And when you run React script start, this starts our React app. It literally it starts it for us on our computer. That's the command for it. And if I run npm build, if I run npm build, node package manager build, it's going to run this one here, and that's going to build it's going to package all of the code and put it into one folder on our inside of here. The same for test, and I'm not sure what eject does, but test you can write test to test out some of your code. We didn't go over tests, and we actually may do that in the next course. And then I'm thinking about it. We may learn about tests here. I'm not going to go over tests here because that's a whole nother topic of its own, to be honest. So, and the rest of the stuff, I wouldn't worry so much about. ESLint, this basically helps us avoid certain mistakes in our code. That's all that really does. I'm not going to go over the details of this. Let me see, browser list. I'm honestly not even sure what this is. So yeah, just don't worry about it. If I don't know what it is, you don't have to worry about what it is either. A lot of this stuff, you see it and it's like, you don't use it until you need it. You know what I mean? So the only important things was this script here and the dependencies. Everything else, you don't have to worry so much about. So with this package lock JSON, I'm not going to go through this file because I honestly don't understand everything that's in here, but I understand what this file does for us. The package lock JSON, so that's on my, from my understanding, it basically helps map like all of the dependencies in your package JSON. And I say dependencies, I mean your app depends on certain code packages. So these code packages here, they also reference, I was saying they also reference other code packages, and all of that stuff is put inside of this this big object here, like all of the different like combinations, like the way that sort of node, the node package manager npm sort of structured all of it. So that's what's inside of this folder, this file. You never have to go inside of this file to edit at all. So don't ever worry about it. And honestly, I can delete this if I wanted to, and like it won't like break my app. It's just there for reference. That's all. And is there just in case, just in case I delete this no modules folder, I can delete this. And since the package lock JSON has all of the different like configurations inside of it, you can build up the node modules. You can basically fetch everything from the internet a lot easier, basically, or a lot more efficient. That's all that does. No need to know exactly what it is. This get ignore file, you know how we were trying to like push our code to get. Now, when we add our code to get, like what we were trying to do last time, add it to the cloud so we can, display it. When we do that, there's certain folders and files that we don't want to add online. One of the folders that we don't want to add is this no modules folder because it has a lot of code in it. Like you can't dump that much, you can't upload that much code. They have a cap. So we don't ever add that, and that's why the name of that is here. Every file or folder that we don't want to add to Git is going to go inside of this file. I'm not going to go over what's everything inside of here, but like the important thing to know is that we're saying that the node modules folder cannot get sent up to Git because we don't need it there, basically. So that's the quick introduction to that. Any questions on that before I get to the actual app and start to build it out? Let me see if there's anything in the chat. I don't see anything. Oh, you had a question?
No, it's okay. I'm not sure what the heck. Sorry.
Okay. Like what I just explained, like it's not even important, to be honest. Like I gave y'all the knowledge just in case y'all wanted to know what it was. Now what's going to be important is what I have to like say next about actually building up this app. You can literally not know any of the stuff that I just told y'all about and still build a React app. It's not required for y'all to know what this stuff is. So but what I'm about to do is I'm gonna start the app. Remember I said you start the app with npm start. That's important to know. npm start. That's how you start the app. And it's starting, see, it ran this here, React script start. That same command I said it's gonna run. And starting, as soon as it starts, I guess it just opened up. It just opened up the browser. I wanted to come over here. So I'm opening up here. It opened up on localhost 3000. Remember last time I was showing y'all that, it opens up on a server on our computer. That's what this is. Anytime you see localhost, it's basically starting a server on our computer. And it's on the 3000 port. It's just a server in a space of its own. And that space is just labeled 3000. Let me zoom out this. That's not zoomed in. So still starting. It didn't actually start up yet. Starting the development server. Okay, I think it's done. It's done. Yeah, okay, successful. Okay, cool. So now we can see it here. Let me just separate this out into its own thing. So we got the app, it started here. Now I'm gonna delete everything from here because we don't need none of this stuff. And we're gonna start building out the app. And I'll explain like some of the stuff that I'm deleting also, just so you can know like what exactly am I doing. So everything here, literally, whenever you start a React app, every React app starts in one component, one JavaScript component. Now the component that it starts in is app.js. It always started in app.js. And the reason I know it's going to start inside of app.js is because if I go to index.js, I can see that app.js is here. Now, there's a few things in this file that we have not seen before, and I'm going to explain what some of this stuff is. So up here, right, we have a few things that we never saw before. We have import here. So basically, this import keyword helps us bring in another JavaScript file. It's going to, import, export. Import is bringing in something. So we're importing this app here, and it's coming from /app. Remember when we did those paths and stuff like that? And I told you / was the same directory. Now it's coming from the exact same folder or directory. We're still inside of the source folder, and whatever file name is app is where this is coming from. Something to notice is that app.js, this is app.js. Now with React, I don't have to put .js. Like I can just leave that out. Like it's just a shortcut, really. You can put that .js if you want to, but I'll leave it out. No one puts it there because it automatically gets filled in for you. So we're bringing in app, right? Now let me go to app.js really quick.
Before that, I thought that whenever you reference, oh no, that's when you're using HTML. I was gonna say whenever you reference one JavaScript folder, then as long as you have the other one above it. But I think that's only in HTML, and they're using HTML to talk to each other.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's a good thing to bring up. So yeah, what we used to do, what we're not gonna do pretty much anymore, because now we're doing React. We don't have to bring in all of those. We don't have to bring in all of those JavaScript files anymore because React is a whole different concept. Like we're literally by me bringing in app, that's bringing in JavaScript and HTML. So all that stuff is all in the exact same spot. But we still have to bring it in. We still have to bring this in somewhere. So we're bringing in app, right? And this is being imported. you can only import something if it's exported from somewhere else. So import, export. Import is bringing something in. Export is sending something out. So inside of app.js, all the way at the bottom, I can see that it's exporting. It's saying export default app.
A question. And when importing, does it matter which order you import your files in?
No, this can go all we. This can go. Actually, yeah, do. The only thing that should be up top is this one here. This this first import. Actually, no, this don't have to. I'm not even sure if that has to be. Yeah, just keep this on the top anyway, just in case. I don't want to like. I'll test it out, but I think this one should be all the way up top. And there's a reason behind it. I'm gonna get to that also. But yeah, the order don't really matter. So if I just saved it, now it's gonna run again, and I can just I mean, it refreshes. I refreshed, but I forgot it refreshes by itself. I gotta remember that. So refresh by itself, everything still look good. So in app.js, we're and please stop me if you're confused with anything. We're exporting something inside of app.js. We're exporting app. Now, what is like app? If I go up, app is this here, this function. Now I'm going to change this. I don't like those other, that was the older way of writing the function. I'm going to write an arrow function. This is how we're going to write React. We're not writing it how they just showed us. This is how we're going to do it. Don't, like, if we look at this without all of this crap inside of it, this is exactly what we did before. This is an arrow function, right? Now, with React, arrow functions always return HTML. If I put Control Z, the return statement is first of all, the return statement has these parentheses here, and we can do this in JavaScript also. We just never seen it like that. Since we're returning a bunch of stuff, we want to put it inside of these parentheses. And what we're returning is like basically a bunch of HTML. We do a Control Z. We're returning a bunch of this HTML here. So back to the export. We're exporting a function. We're sending out a function to be imported somewhere else. And that's why we're able to import it here. That is the import export concept. And it says export default here. Now export default, like I forgot exactly what this default means, but to my understanding, if you use export default, you can put any variable here. Like I can put as many of these export defaults as I want. Export default, like let's say max or whatever. let's say I created a max variable here, the exact same stuff we were doing before, max. And now let me see, module. Okay, we can only have one export default. That's my fault. We can only export default one thing. And we can probably export. Let me see, export max. Let's see if that works. Export. So max is max here. Let's see, declaration of statement expected. Declaration of statement expected. Let's forget I showed y'all that. I'm gonna figure out what this default means. But yeah, we're exporting this app by default. That's how I read it. That's how I'll think about it. And we're putting it in here. And that's how we know that that's the app, that's the main app. Now I'm not about to go over everything in here. I think it's important for y'all to go through the documentation just so that y'all can see like what some of the stuff means. I just want to show you how to use it. What we're seeing here is a bunch of stuff, but using it, if I just show you how to use it, it's gonna seem so much easier. So I'm going to delete a few things, right? I don't need all of this stuff here. Just want to quickly show y'all though that this spinner thing right here, this is literally just an image, and if I see here inside of the HTML, we got the image tag right here. Literally, if I delete that and save it, it's going to reload and we don't see the image anymore. That was the image. And I want to show y'all some of the stuff that's here. Remember, we did the source tag in the image with HTML. It's the exact same concept. And I'm gonna go over what this stuff means here in a minute. But we're basically setting a source tag to an image, and that image comes from here. We're importing that image from somewhere. So we're importing some logo, and we're importing that from the same folder. And the name of that file is logo.csv. Anytime you see anything that with a different thing than .js, you want to put that dot whatever. Because if I just do dot logo, it's probably going to assume that it's a .js. So if it's not .js, you want to put the extension here. So we're bringing in this whole image. Like this is just a SVG. Like don't worry about these numbers and stuff like that. That's just how those images are structured. It's just an SVG, which is just an image, and it's bringing that image into our app.
Does it have to be a SVG? Could it be like a JPEG?
I'm not completely
PNG.
sure. I think you can do like a JPEG or PNG. I'm not completely sure though. I haven't tested it in so long, but yeah, I know we can definitely do the SVG, and we can test it a little later if we have some time to test it out. But yeah, we're just bringing in that whole SVG and we're putting it into the source. That's all this source does. Like we put strings in here, and you can do more than just strings inside of here. So that's how that works. But yeah, let me delete a few things here, and then I'll start to explain what some of this stuff means, like these curly brackets here and everything like that. But I want to show y'all in like a much more simplified form. I'm gonna delete this. And since we're not using logo no more, I'm gonna delete that too. We can see that it faded out, VS Code telling us, hey, you're actually not using that. So I'm gonna just take that out. And we're just gonna be left with a blank screen. Just a white screen, nothing's on it right now. So that's that. Now let's go over this import. We're importing from the same folder. We're importing some CSS file, app.css. This is the equivalent of using the link tag. Remember when we did the HTML? Anytime you bring something into React, you're using import. You're not using those link tags no more. You're not using those script tags no more. You're using these import statements. So we're importing app.css. If I go to app.css, we see it right here. This is literally all of the CSS, and we don't need any of this stuff. It's just bringing in the whole CSS file. I'm just going to delete the whole thing. We don't even need that stuff. And if you was curious to how that image was spinning, you might want to look into keyframes, something that we didn't go over either with CSS. But with keyframes, you can like mix up and animate, and that's how it's spinning around. It's rotating from 0 degrees all the way to 36 degrees, and it's going to keep doing it over and over and over. It's going to keep spinning. But yeah, that's how the image was spinning. I'm going to delete this now, and we'll write our own CSS, but we still got that CSS coming in to this JavaScript file. Now, the good thing about this is that now you can separate your CSS, and you can separate your CSS with each JavaScript file. Like if I want to use CSS from somewhere else, I can just choose to use my own CSS file. So now you won't like conflict with different CSS names and stuff like that. It helps to separate. It's almost like, so now we have separate JavaScript files and we have separate CSS files. So that's that helps out a lot. I'll go here. We still got a blank screen because we didn't actually add anything. Where are we at? We at 747. We did not go over much, but let's start building out this app. This is what we wanted to build. So let's open it up. Okay. We're gonna start with this part first. This high name here. So put that literally inside of H1. It's a heading. Remember that from HTML. High. I put comma, and I'll put some curly brackets, and I'll put name here, and I'll show you why I'm doing that. I'll just put my name here. So this is going to say hi, like to me or whatever. Now, if I go to the actual file here, it's saying my name is not defined. Now, with React, you can use JavaScript within your React or within your HTML. This is basically a variable. I'm going to define that. I'll put that here. I'll say my name. I'll put Isaiah here, right? Now it's going to say hi Isaiah because I put it in between curly brackets and I put the name of the variable in between there. So it says hi Isaiah. See, like it's little stuff like this that makes React so much better. Before we had to do document.get element by ID, and then like we had to set the inner text. We don't got to do none of that stuff no more. We literally put the variable in here and then reference it inside of the return statement, inside of the HTML that's returned from the function.
So do you use CSS to start to stylize your React app?
Yep.
Okay, so we still using CSS to stylize everything. Cool.
Background color blue. Give the heading a background color blue. You know, it don't really make so much sense, but you know, it's the exact same concept. And let me see. And all the CSS is the same, obviously. None of that stuff changed. Let's make the color white. I think that's good. Okay. You can even do text align center, put that in the center. I think I should put it in the center. Yeah, it does. Okay. So hi Isaiah. So we got that first part down. Now I'm gonna make these boxes next. So each of these boxes, they all look exactly the same. Like literally the only thing that's changing is the color and the text that's inside of it, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a React component that has the template of each one of these boxes. And that template is gonna take a color and it's gonna take some text. And depending on, like if you give it whatever color you give it, that's the color is gonna be. And whatever text you give it, that's the text that's gonna show up inside of that React component. And this is the power of React. You literally use templates for everything. So we'll create this component. We'll just name this, we'll just name it box just for simplicity. Inside of this source file, I'm going to create another file here. I'll name it box. Now I'm capitalizing this because that's by convention. It's going to be box.js, right? Now, every React component has to import React. We have to import React. Now, the reason we have to import React is because we're using this like HTML and like JavaScript mixed up stuff here. Now the wait, why is this not importing React? This is very odd. Actually, don't worry about this right now. I'm thinking it's fine because we're importing it here inside of the index.js. So we imported it here, and because we imported it here, everything inside of this file knows about like React. And this is all of the code the React team wrote. Literally, if I was to delete this, like our app should break because it probably don't know. Like it's like, what is all of this React stuff that you're writing? It don't know what it is. React is not defined. It's telling us like what's the one of the problems, and that's probably because we're using it down here. But yeah, React tells us, it basically tells them how to structure all that HTML and CSS that we're putting together. But either way, we created box.js, we create a function, just like the function inside of app.js. It's gonna be an arrow function, right? And we're gonna return some HTML. And the HTML is gonna be inside of some brackets here, these brackets. So while I'm here, I'm going to show y'all something So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put like a paragraph here, right? It's gonna say hey, and then I'm gonna export this, export default, uh, default box. And because I want to use box inside of app.js, what do I have to do? I have to import it. Import box from box. You see it automatically completed for us. So yeah, so now we're importing box inside of app.js. I'm going to put box inside of this, inside of the HTML. And when you put when you put a component inside of HTML, this is how you write it. Just like how we wrote the image tags was almost exactly the same, where we just wrote image, and we wrote like the closing one. I don't think we wrote that like that. I think it was like something like this, and we put like a source and stuff like that. Like these components are structured the exact same way. Opening, the name of the component, the closing one, and the closing bracket.
So
Dave, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so for box, we have to pass in the color variable and the name variable, right?
Right. Exactly.
So we'll do that in the box.js.
Right.
And then create a function that supplies the name and the color within this app function.
Exactly.
All right, cool.
I see here it says hey, because hey is box. I can literally copy this down as many times as I want, hit save, and we can have a whole bunch of hays here because it's just literally layering like the template over and over. They're just stacking on top of each other. But we need 4 of these. We don't need all of those. We just need 4 of these boxes. And now we got 4 here. Hey, got 4 hays. So we're gonna start by structuring the CSS for this actually. I see we only have 5 more minutes. Let me quickly make the CSS. So this is box.css, and it's gonna hold the CSS file. This is going to use that CSS. So what we have to do, we got to import the CSS since we're using it. Import. I think we just do from. Hold on, let me just see how we did it here. Yeah, import from. Yeah. Oh no from. Just import box.css. Okay, we're importing the CSS. Cool. Something I wanted.
So the reason, another question. Sorry for all the questions, but so the reason that you don't import box from box CSS is because you don't have a function called box in CSS.
We said that you said the reason we don't import box.
And so the reason it's not like import box from .box.css is because there is no function called box in CSS. So there's no variable to import.
Something like that. So when we did import, if we were to do import box from box, it's going to look for this export inside of this export default inside of the box.css, but we don't have that because it's just a CSS file. It's kind of weird it's not giving me an error. I'm wondering if this is even going to work, to be honest. Okay, it did give us an error once we saved it. Box is already declared. Let's see, box 1 didn't give us an error. I'm not sure why, but let me put
it's almost like kind of saving seats at a stadium or something like that.
Yeah, like you're saying like how the templates are like kind of built up. Yeah. Let's see, font size. Let's see, let's do color. This is the color of the font. I just put the color as blue. I don't think this is gonna work. I'm not. Oh, it does work. Yeah, I'm not sure why this works this way. Normally, when I bring in the CSS, it's just import from instead of import box from. I would just keep it like this because this IR browser is gonna reference it, and we can still see that the color of each paragraph is blue here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I seen that import faded out, so
Yeah,
that was some type of error, but for some reason it's able to see past it.
right. I don't know if it's them just building it to make it like
Less crash proof, more or less.
right. Yeah, more resilient.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, I have no clue. I'm sure there's something behind that import. Maybe it imports everything plus whatever you did the default. Maybe that's what it is. But I mean, yeah. Um, but yeah, something I wanted to show y'all is so far we got hey, right? I'm just going through hey and then hi. This breaks that, and we can see all those these red squigglies here. And the reason we got these red squigglies is because we can only return one HTML element. We cannot return like two HTML elements, like one parent HTML element. So if we wanted to do this, we would either need to put them inside of divs and return just the one div with other HTML elements inside of it. We can do this, and we can see it here. Hi, hey, I mean, hey, hi. Or we can do this, and this is basically like a placeholder. It's basically saying, okay, like I didn't want that div to be the parent. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you like a fake HTML element or like a placeholder almost. So instead of returning HTML, we're going to return this empty HTML here, and it's still going to work exactly the same. And that's if you didn't want to put it inside of a div. Like you don't always want to do that. Like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Just depending on the person.
So it's almost like the anonymous function.
Right, like just yeah, just like something you don't really know about, and you can see it in the HTML too. If I go here, all this HTML is built up. Like all of this is here. Like I see these hey hi, and these are not inside of anything. We saw that it was inside of those empty HTML strings, right? But if I put these back to divs, you're gonna see that's gonna change to it's gonna change to divs. They're gonna be inside of divs as soon as this refreshes. See, now all these are divs. See that this is the difference between that. So that's just React's way of like not putting it inside of another HTML element just to put it there. And to be honest, like I use these empty HTML elements because like we start to see the HTML start to look really confusing once you start nesting more and more HTML elements inside of it. And this is just a shortcut just to put them just on the screen. I just want them on the screen. So that's that. And I'll show y'all quickly how to bring in stuff into here. Like let's remember I was saying we're gonna give each of them a name. The way we do that is by let me let me double check my notes really quick before I give you the wrong thing. So loops setup component. I think it's here. Might be this one. Probably this one. Hold on, I'm just opening up this image. I took a screenshot. I know we gotta use something called props. Basically, you see how this is a function right here? Now, this function, it comes with parameters. The parameter that it comes with is something called like a prop. We can just name it prop. And this is an arrow function. That's why I got rid of those brackets. But get used to using all these shortcuts because that's how people write and React. We use all the shortcuts we can write. But let me go to my screenshot and make sure I'm doing that the right way. It's not that one. It's this one. No, it's not. Okay, we're gonna guess at this. So because I don't feel like opening up all those files. So with each one of these, right? We can pass in values into each one of these React components, right? Now I'm gonna pass in the name. I'm gonna pass in any random name. I'm gonna say, wait, actually I'm gonna say John for this one. For this one down here, I'm gonna say the name that I'm gonna pass in, just like passing in a parameter. Like you put it as an attribute, just like we saw with HTML. I'm passing all the rest of the names really quick. What was that? John, Dave, Sam, and Mike. Dave, Sam, Mike. Save that. Everything, nothing broke. We didn't display them yet because we didn't like reference anything. If I go to box.js, this one I'm gonna do to test this out, right? I'm gonna do a console log, and I'm gonna console log prop because I want to see what that is. And just to make this a little bit more easier to see, I'll console log it with a line in between. Right? Go to the console, and we can see prop is an object. Literally, you pass in the object, and all the object has is the name. And let's say I wanted to put the color. This color is blue, right? I'm gonna pass in blue here. Blue. I mean color. Color. And I'm gonna pass in as a string blue. If I go back here, and as soon as it's refresh, we should see John, and then we should see blue also there. As soon as it does a refresh. Oh wait, it's down here now. Okay. So we got John for the name, and we got the color as blue. You can see it comes in as like key value pairs. So what we can do with that, and I'm gonna name this props instead because it's literally it's plural because there's more than one prop here. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use another shortcut. Remember object destructuring. I'm gonna take out the name and I'm gonna take out the color, and I'm gonna set that equal to the object destructuring. Now to see this another way, I can do props dot name instead of destructuring it like this. But destructuring it like this, I mean, it's really your preference. Now I can do props dot name here, and it'll print out John because props dot name it reference John, or I can just use destructuring like this, and I can just say name here. This looks a lot cleaner inside of the HTML. It's just one thing. So I'm gonna save that, and it says John, Dave, Sam, Mike. So we are already at time now. I know we're like just getting into the swing of it, but I feel like this is we can finish this demo. Actually, I'll leave it up to y'all to finish the demo actually, and I'll show y'all one more thing. I'm not even gonna put the color in here because I want y'all to figure out like how to do that part. So I put the name in there. The next thing I'm gonna show y'all how to do is to actually make it do something. Remember, I was saying if you click this, like it'll change the color of the white here, and it'll change this name to John. Now, what I can do is I can give this another property. I'm just gonna name it like click event or whatever, and I'll just name that. I'm just name the attribute click event, and I'll create a function called click event. Click events. I'm just gonna give it the exact. I'm gonna name it click action, just so we can like differentiate this. Now you're probably wondering why are we putting this in a string and we're putting this inside of the brackets. Remember, every time we use brackets, we're gonna reference a variable. So I'm gonna create that variable click. And I'll say that variable is going to have some parameter a inside of there, and I'm just going to console log a. That's what I'm going to do with that, right? So I gave it this click event. I only gave that to John, like, so notice that. And the function that I gave it is click. So if I want to reference this function click inside of this box with the name of John, I have to reference it with this with this key right here. We can even go to the console and we can see that refresh. Let me see. Just gonna refresh it. Okay, I'm not logging it anymore. That's probably what it is. Yeah, I was not logging it. So I'm gonna log props here. And we can see click event is here. So click event is the attribute that I passed in, and we set it to a function. See, we just console log A. That's all we did. So inside of box, I'm gonna give this paragraph a click event. Actually, I'm gonna put these inside of a div actually. I want this to be, I actually do want this to be inside of a div. Save that. And I'm gonna give this div a click event. In HTML, we did on click. Remember the HTML things, but in React, we still do on click, except for this time, the click is camel case. In HTML, I think it was all lowercase. I think it was like something like this, but it's camel cased inside of React. We set it equal to a variable. So the variable that we're going to set this to is we're going to put a function. We're going to put the function directly inside of here. This is the arrow function that we're going to put in there. And what I'm going to do is inside of the arrow function, I'm going to call, what's that, click event? Click event? What are we passing? I think that was the name. Let me copy and paste it so I won't mess up the spelling. So it's click event. We're passing click event, and I'm going to call click event. Now, when I call click event, I'm going to pass in the name, and I'm going to pass in the color. Just going to do it like this. And click event on the other side is going to log the name and the color. Console log name and console log of color. So every time I click John, let me clear this, we see that the name and the color prints out here. You can start to see how some of this stuff is like tying together, literally like we made these components. After we made these components, we made these attributes to pass in values. Then we can even pass in functions into other like components by passing it in as an attribute into the HTML element. Like, and then we can all the way on the other side, we're able to pull out everything that we passed in as attributes and then use all of that stuff inside of the HTML, which is inside of the JavaScript function. So this is like the power of React. And before, if we wanted to do this exact same thing, we would have to, you know, we would have to do the whole document dot get element by ID to even set this name. We would still do the on click, but it'll be this way. But when we did that, we would have to make sure that the JavaScript file was on top of the other JavaScript file in order for it to see it. Like there's there's so many things that you don't ever have to worry about anymore whenever you do React. And this is like the basics of it. So what I want y'all to do, because we already over by 12 minutes. What I want y'all to do is when we click this, well, first of all, make these boxes. Like these boxes aren't here, and I'll put this screenshot inside of the drive. Mess around with the CSS so that we're making boxes here, and then change the background color with you can change the background color, and you can put that directly inside of this as an attribute. You can write style. Remember we did the style. Well, I'm gonna leave it. I think y'all should just YouTube, Google it or whatever to see if y'all can figure it out. How to change the HTML elements and put different CSS stuff on them. So I want y'all to make these boxes, change the colors. The name is already there. And then when we click this, I want y'all to update this, the stuff that's on the outside, stuff that's all the way inside of this app.js folder. I want y'all to update this name to whatever you click. And I want y'all to update the color of the surroundings, the surrounding area right here with the color that's passed in. So any questions before I let everyone go?
Do you expect us to be able to finish that by Sunday or?
Yes. So
Oh,
I say
shit.
yes because everything is inside of this page here. That same page I sent out. And honestly, there's more stuff in here. So with that light introduction I gave y'all and that paired with reading this, yes, Sunday y'all should definitely be able to do it because this has even more stuff in there. As long as y'all go through it, y'all should be able to do it. And if y'all do have questions, you can just ask me and I can let y'all know. And this is me preparing y'all for the job because this is exactly what they do. They say, here's the code, here's some documentation, read it, and then figure out how to do it. And then they pay you a whole bunch of money to do that. So this is just think of it as like a test. It's like just act like you're on a job or something like that.
It's homework.
Yeah, it's homework. There you go. I'll go over it on Sunday, obviously, but yeah.
I had another question, but I forgot it. So never mind.
Okay. Yeah, but once y'all practice all of this stuff and see how all this stuff is tied together, like me writing this right now, like I literally looked at the video I sent y'all. I didn't write anything. Like me, this is me just remembering from when I did it like a year ago. Like once y'all start to get the patterns here, it's not going to be something that you're going to forget. It's going to be something you're going to be able to pick up right away. So,
yo, can you share the React link with the homework? So that way we have the React link so I can reference the tutorial page and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm gonna be Googling like a madman, but
yeah. What I would do the best strategy is to go back. The best strategy is to go through the React video, and I'll put all of that stuff in one spot. I'll put the React link, the video, and I'll even put this code there also. Now I'm going to get rid of this no modules folder. I'm gonna delete it because this got too much stuff on there. In order to get this no modules folder back, all you got to do is run. Let me show y'all really quick before he said. If you got to go, then it's fine. I just want to quickly show you how to get this back. I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna literally delete that. I'm gonna delete this package JSON also. This is not gonna be in here. Delete. There's no modules folder. It was so big that it took a few seconds. Sometimes the no modules folder take a few minutes to even delete. It has so much stuff inside of it. But yeah, this is how you're gonna see it with just these files. And then what you got to do is run npm install. And that's going to install everything that's inside of the package JSON. It's going to create that package lock JSON and it's going to create the no modules folder all over again. So you run npm install to get everything back and then run npm start in order to start that app. And I'm gonna leave all this code. I'm gonna leave everything all inside one folder and I'll put a link to that folder in the chat on Instagram. So y'all can just click it and just go right to it. So
Shaduki.
Yeah. So on Sunday, I'm going to finish this and then we're going to learn some more React stuff. Like this is only scratching the surface. This is not like everything, but like with what I just showed y'all, if y'all come to the interview knowing the basic concepts that I just showed y'all, then like you can pretty much say that you know React. Now, if you know in and out, that's a whole different story. But if you know how to put these components together, how to pass in these attributes and reference them on the other side, then that's like 90% of what you're going to be doing in React the whole time. And then the other like 10% is important, but you're not going to write it as often. But it's important to know because you have to know how it works. And I'll show you how all that stuff works on Sunday. So. Yeah, we can see that it's taking a long time to download all of those files. I was in the no modules folder, it's still downloading it. But we can see that it created it here. and it should create a package lock JSON as soon as this completes. So it just loads. Oh, and on Sunday, I'm gonna let y'all know so the package lock is created and then npm start, the exact same thing. But yeah, in the course, I'm going to be uploading one more project, and I think that is really, really important for y'all to go through it. We're not going to go through it in class, but the project that I'm going to create, like when you go to an interview, they may actually ask you like questions based off a concept that I'm going to teach. In that it was that fighting game that I showed y'all. So I'm gonna tell y'all again on Sunday just to give you a reminder. But I'm going to be uploading it probably in the next like week, something like that. I have it all recorded. I just got to edit all of the video, which takes a very long time. But once I upload that, I'll let y'all know, and I think I should go through it because it talks about something called object-oriented programming. And if you don't know what object-oriented programming is, like it's not, it don't look, now you can still get hired without knowing what it is, but it really don't look too good. You're not about to ask for a whole bunch of money if you don't know what object-oriented programming is. And that's what the project that I'm going to upload next week is going to teach. So stop sharing, and I'll stop the recording. Here we go.